Welcome to another episode of What's Working in E-commerce. I'm Egan from Caravan Digital. We're a paid search, paid social, and email marketing agency. And today I'm so excited to have on Ian Lamont from i30 Media. Ian's one of our clients, and he also knows a lot about Amazon PPC, so we wanted to have him on to talk about Amazon ads. Ian, welcome.
Hey, Egan, nice to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, really excited to dig into this side of things. You know, we've talked Facebook and Instagram ads now for many months together, but this is the first time I've had a chance to ask you about Amazon ads. Tell me a little bit about, this channel of selling on Amazon versus selling through your site. How'd you get into it? How long you've been doing it? And just, how do you think about it versus selling through your website?
I think my case might be a little bit unusual because I know a lot of people who are selling their own brands. They have a Shopify store and then they're doing Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or what have you, or Google. In my case, I actually started out with Amazon. And the reason why is because I have two different brands. One of them is a book brand. One of them is a non-book brand. And I've been publishing on Amazon for nearly 10 years. And I discovered that Amazon about 5 years ago started encouraging some publishers to start using their Amazon advertising platform. I think they were slowly opening it up. And so I was actually a pretty early user to dip my toes into it. And I tried Google and Facebook to a limited extent before then. But Amazon, I got results right away, and that was really encouraging. And Amazon, as you know, when people are searching on Amazon, they have intent to buy. So that's really sets it apart from a lot of other existing, pay-per-click type of campaigns. And I was pretty encouraged by that. And I've been kind of growing with the platform as it has grown because my own business has grown. And in particular, the non-book brand that I have has been doing pretty well using Amazon advertising, and of course, Amazon's own tools for sellers to kind of give them more visibility.
Gotcha. So kind of started on the publishing side, and as you're selling products, you saw what was possible here, and that's really where you cut your teeth, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
Very cool. And how long have you been doing this then?
So for publishing 2012, so that's, almost getting close to 10 years now. My brand is in 30 Minutes Guides, and I also have an associated brand called Cheat Sheet. So those I've been doing for quite a long time. The non-publishing brand for about 5 years. In advertising, I started around the same time I started the non-publishing brand. So Amazon, I have to give them credit, even though they're a giant monster that no one really likes to admit liking. They're actually very good at some things, and they're pretty ruthless in some other respects as well. But at least on the technology side, when they're developing new products, they really iterate quite quickly. And anybody who owns a Kindle knows this. The Kindles from 10 years ago, they look nothing like the current generation of Kindles that are available. And compare that to other types of hardware, like an iPad. The iPad looks basically the same as an iPad from quite a while ago. And Apple's much more careful in the way it designs things. For technology, including software on Amazon, they really move quite quickly. So the Amazon advertising platform, that started out with some very basic types of campaigns, when I was using it 5 years ago. And I'd say, the feature set has probably doubled or tripled since then.
Tell me a little bit about running the ads versus doing Amazon SEO.
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to mention Amazon SEO first because that's a big topic right now. One thing to understand is that you are competing with many, many other products in most categories, but not all categories. So for instance, if you're writing like a how-to guide, as my company does publish, there's a lot of competition for those types of things. And to show up at the top of results is really, really difficult unless you're a big established brand. So that's why the For Dummies series, they tend to be at the top for technology how-to guides. And people know it, and they'll actually use that term. It will surface very rapidly. For everybody else, if you're just getting started, it's really, really hard to stand out, which is why Amazon advertising is so important. Because basically, kind of like when you go to the supermarket and there's an end cap, Amazon advertising lets you really get much higher visibility, not only in search results, but also on the Amazon detail pages, which is pretty critical. And I think anyone who's looked at an Amazon detail page, which is a product page, they'll see these carousels that are kind of appearing below the product description in other places. About half of those carousels, or maybe even more now, are sponsored product campaigns that other advertisers have set up.
That's great. So it sounds like there's a few different ad inventories or ways to think about the ads that appear. What are some of the mistakes maybe you've made over the years, you've seen people make that you've kind of learned from and that people can skip if they listen to you?
The the first thing that people should understand is Amazon is not trying to necessarily help you as much as they are trying to help their own bottom line. There are things in the Amazon advertising world which they present as being helpful data points or things to do on Amazon advertising that actually may not be in your best interest to pursue. To give you one example in the publishing world, if you own an Amazon Kindle, you may know that the Kindle, when you turn it on, it often has an image right there of a book or sometimes some other sort of product. And those are a type of advertising program called lock screen ads on Amazon. I've learned for publishing, they're not very useful. I do not recommend people use them or spend much money on them. Maybe they can experiment a little bit. And that's probably the key learning point here. Try out these new programs that they offer, but don't rush headlong into them and follow everything that they recommend. Like, hey, this is a new great program, because it may not be for what you're selling. The other thing that I've learned is Amazon has some very high default bids, which are not helpful to people who are just getting started. You're running a campaign. Well, our default bid is $1 and our suggested bid for certain keywords, some of them are off the charts. They're $10, $20 or something like that. And depending on the type of product you're selling, it may not make much sense at all to follow the suggested bid or the default bid as given. So usually when I start a campaign for something like publishing, where you can still bid on keywords and get impressions and sales for well under $1 per click, the default bid's $1, but almost always set that to something much lower depending on the campaign type. And for the suggested bids, I almost always ignore them, because I find what I believe Amazon is doing is they're commingling kind of keywords in different categories. So for instance, we write books that are related to technology, like Google software. So when I'm bidding on we have a book, Google Docs cheat sheet. It's very low. It's a low margin item. It costs less than $10, but I'm being shown keyword bids that are $10, $15, $20. It's because they're mixing my stuff up with people who are selling things like Chromebooks, which are, of course, higher cost, higher margin items. So you have to be really careful with that. And even if they have a high suggested bid, just start low, see what happens, see if you're getting impressions, see if you're getting sales, and you can always work it up. So one thing I like to say about Amazon advertising, it's not fire and forget. It's more like tending a garden. You plant a seed, you water it, you pick out the weeds, you kind of check to see what's going on. And then, the other thing that I think everybody should know about Amazon advertising, and one of your other guests recently said something similar about Facebook advertising. You can have the best Facebook advertisement in the world, but if you're sending people to a page that's just not optimized for selling, you're wasting a lot of money. And maybe even you're just throwing away money and you won't get any sales off of that. So I always say to people, by all means, try these different types of Amazon advertising campaigns. But if your detail page on Amazon is not optimized for really kind of engaging people, meeting their expectations and converting them from a browser to a buyer, you may be making a big mistake by spending a lot of money on advertisements that just won't convert because the detail page is not that good.
There's some great tips in there. So it sounds like, I don't know if the word is the placements or the ad types. Really look at those and see which placements make sense or which types of ads make sense to run. Look at that. They still go CPC, cost per click bids, right? Just like Google on the cost.
Yeah, they do. And I'll say one other thing compared to a Facebook advertisement, where I've had the experience where, if you give Facebook a budget of like $50 a day, they'll blow right through that. Amazon, they won't necessarily do that if the searches aren't there, if there's just not enough people in certain keywords or browsing certain things. So, I very rarely, especially on the books, very rarely hit the maximum daily bids on that, but they will spend part of it as long as people are searching for those things, or they can show these advertisements, not in search, but actually on other similar products detail pages. So it's a little bit different than Facebook in that respect.
Even look at, is this a search intent ad or is this more like almost like a display ad inside Amazon?
Yeah. On Amazon, there's different types of advertisements. So a type of advertisement that's available to anybody who's selling on Amazon, practically anybody, if you have your own product, is called sponsored product advertisement. Those ads will show up on other people's detail pages, other products detail pages, and sometimes they'll show up in search, scattered in the search results. If you have a registered brand on Amazon, that means you've gone to the Amazon brand registry, you have a trademark, and you've registered with Amazon that, yes, in 30 minutes is my trademark. Amazon kind of unlocks the keys to a lot of very special advertising programs. So you can get these top of search ads on Amazon, which show more than one product. If you have a brand, you can get something called an Amazon store, which lets you really showcase your products in different ways, and other types of ad products that aren't available to people who do not have a registered brand on Amazon. And one thing I should say, I'm not like, yeah, go Amazon. I just want to really kill it on Amazon to the detriment of my other Shopify stores. I always think that because Amazon owns the customer on Amazon, not you. So I always think that really the focus should be building up your brand outside of Amazon. And of course, using the tools on Amazon to get sales on Amazon. And importantly, Amazon is a great place to experiment, not only for trying out different products, trying out different marketing images, trying out different kind of positioning things, but also trying out different advertising things. And, when I talk with your team at Caravan, sometimes I'll say to Jack or Carolyn, hey, I've been doing this thing on Amazon. It's really, really working well. Maybe we can translate that to Google, or we can translate that to Facebook. So there's kind of like, it's not just about Amazon letting me sell some things and I'm getting a little bit of profit off of that. I'm actually getting learning experiences from that. And I encourage other people who have the ability to sell on Amazon to not only see Amazon as a marketplace, but also as a place to experiment and learn and bring those learning experiences outside, back into your own Shopify store, back into your other types of PPC campaigns.
One of the other things you mentioned then is that product page, or kind of your product detail page, you really need to have that dialed in to optimize for conversion. What have you found works well for that piece?
Yeah. So the most important thing for product detail pages, and this won't come as a surprise to anyone who's done Shopify stuff, is having a good image, having a good lead image, and also the other images that you can throw in there. I think there's 7 or 8 or 9 images maximum for most types of products. So you really want to make sure that those look sharp. Amazon is letting sellers use images with other types of graphics on them now. They used to be pretty restrictive about that. This is not for books. This is for other types of things. Like if you're selling like some sort of kitchen item or something like that, they'll let you do some sort of annotations on the images, which can be helpful. Setting up images so it shows people actually using the images, that can be pretty helpful. There's other things too. And, Amazon is very strict about the rules around, what you can say in your product description. For instance, you cannot mention a competing brand on there. You cannot directly compare with it on the description itself, but you can use competing brand names in your Amazon advertising campaigns. So if you're publishing something like a mystery novel, on your mystery novel detail page, you cannot say Stephen King. You can't say Cujo. You can't say The Shining. In the advertising campaign, you can. So you kind of have to really understand those rules and, be sensitive to them, because if Amazon finds that you're constantly kind of breaking through the rules that they've set for your product description or the product metadata or the title of your product, they will start to punish you in certain ways. And in very extreme cases, they can actually, pull the product, kind of delist it, or if you've done something really bad, like buying reviews, they can just take you right off the platform. And on the review part of it, of course, people are looking at the number of reviews and the average review. The best thing you can do for a good review is to make a great product. Okay. And that comes down to product design, your insights about the customer, the packaging, maybe some of the way that you're marketing it or you're positioning it. So if you pay attention to those things, usually the reviews will come. If you need a little help on reviews, Amazon has a program. It's called Amazon Vine. It's currently, you have to pay for it. At least I do. And that may be a way to get reviews. In certain other types of products, there may be other ways to, for instance, in publishing, you can release something called an ARC, which is an advanced copy. And as long as the person discloses that they got a free copy of the book in advance, they can write a review. And the review might be good, it might be bad. You just have to kind of roll with it. But that comes back to making a great product. And so that's when people come to an Amazon detail page, they want to see good images. They want to see professional looking description. They want to see at least some reviews that let them know what other people are thinking about it. And those are things that you have some control over.
That's great. I imagine there's some element of frequently asked questions as well, of if you can answer questions they have about the product, that helps you close the sale.
I think so. And to that point, they have a program within the Amazon Seller Central website called A+ Content. And they also use it in other types of Amazon programs as well. And basically it lets you do kind of a deep dive onto what this product is, maybe who the creator is, something else about it. You can tell your brand story. So that's a really helpful thing to do. And I'll go back again to the having the ability to have your brand registered on Amazon, that really lets you tell your brand story in a way that you can't do if you don't have a registered brand on Amazon. So if you have a product that has a trademark already, register with Amazon Brand Registry. That will let you do things like run certain types of advertisements that are not available to everybody else, and have that Amazon store that I mentioned earlier.
Is there anything else that's really helped you drive results for your products?
To a certain extent, you have to pay attention to the pricing atmosphere.